Welcome to the You Are Not For Everyone podcast. I'm Jackie Henderson. I am a mental health counselor who specializes in holistic and somatic practices. On this podcast, we have real talk about mental health issues, including anxiety, trauma, depression, personality disorder, and much, much more. I'm so happy you're joining us today. Enjoy the show, and let's get started. This is You Are Not For Everyone, and I'm Jackie Henderson. Today we are talking about alcohol dependence, and not just the mental and emotional dependence. We are specifically focusing on the physical dependence on alcohol, where your body actually requires it and needs it in order to stay at a stable place. And we're going to go deeper into this a little bit more, but it's important to know that alcohol is very addictive, and it's not just mental, it's also physical. And people don't always think this because alcohol is legal and we can just drink alcohol when we're 21 and everybody's doing it. But for some people, the physical need for alcohol is extreme. Their body requires it, and their withdrawal symptoms could cause long-term organ damage. It has a huge biological effect on the body. Some people are able to just quit drinking. They can do dry January. They can take a month off from drinking. But other people, if they stop drinking, they could get tremors. They could have seizures. Their body is needing the alcohol and they're physically dependent on it. So this is a deeper addiction that really requires some explanation and some thought, especially if you are physically dependent on alcohol. And we'll go into what that looks like so you know if that's you or not, or someone that you care about. Always remember that addiction isn't always a choice, but recovery is. You can choose to recover. You can choose to live a healthy life. And I have been sober for about 2.5 years just because I wanted to be healthier and stronger. I didn't really have an addiction to alcohol, but the habitual use of alcohol, daily wine drinking, social drinking, I can see how hard it is to quit drinking alcohol in our culture. Alcohol is everywhere. It's at cookouts, it's at weddings, it's at birthday parties, it's at picnics, it's at sporting events, it's everywhere. So it's really hard. And in our culture, we've made drinking very romantic, very cool, very glamorous. And honestly, it's just a poison that we've dressed up in a martini glass, and it's not doing us any good. There's absolutely zero health benefits to drinking. And you can tell yourself that red wine has healthy effects, but eating healthy food is probably a better way to get those healthy effects than red wine. So what is physical dependence on alcohol? The body uses alcohol to function as one of its chemical regulators. It's helping you to regulate yourself, and it's an unhealthy way to regulate your body. Unlike emotional and psychological addiction, physical dependence means the body literally requires alcohol to avoid withdrawal. And it often begins with tolerance, needing more to get the same effect. So here are some signs of physical dependence. Tolerance. How high is your tolerance? You can drink more and it has less of an effect on you. Are you one of those people that can drink 3 or 4 drinks and you haven't gotten buzzed or intoxicated, where someone who doesn't drink very much can have 1 or 2 drinks and be very intoxicated? Your tolerance is higher because your body has become used to having the alcohol in it. And the withdrawal symptoms when you have physical dependence are tremors, nausea, sweating, anxiety, hallucinations, and in extreme cases, seizures. So what do people do when they have any of these kind of feelings from they withdraw from alcohol? They drink again so they can feel better. It's really a double-edged sword, and it's important to really start to ask yourself, am I physically dependent? And if you take a day off from drinking and your body is craving it and needs it, and it's physically tremoring, or it's seizing, or you have sweats and high anxiety, your body is needing the alcohol. And so that's an important sign for you to maybe start considering recovery and sobriety. Physical dependence is very dangerous because it causes fatalities. You could die. There's a thing called DTs, delirium tremens, which is almost like a seizure to your body, and your body could die. It affects the central nervous system, and it depresses you all the time. People drink because they might have anxiety, they might be experiencing depression, but you know what the alcohol does? It increases the anxiety and it increases the depression. It does not help either one. It makes them both worse, especially if you're on anxiety medication or depression medication and you use alcohol. They're negating each other. You're making everything worse by drinking the alcohol. And I really suggest you read this book called This Naked Mind, because it tells you how our culture and how our country views alcohol use and how it has become so ingrained in our values and our habits and our customs. It's really difficult to break the pattern of alcohol use. And read the book and it will help you, especially if you feel like you may be dependent on alcohol or you're using it too much, or you're using it as a crutch to get through life. Another dangerous part of physical dependence of alcohol is liver damage, heart disease, and neurological impacts on your brain. It's a very slippery slope from going from just partying on the weekends to daily drinking to excessive drinking. It has an accelerating process to it that you use more and more to get the same effect. People are using it to cope with stress, cope with trauma, cope with loneliness. But honestly, the alcohol is just making those things much worse because you're not actually doing the healing work that needs to be done. And it's interesting because I worked in the hospital in the behavioral unit, and I remember seeing people in high school that used to party, and they were just wild party girls and guys on the weekends, and they just seemed like they were like living carefree but drinking and partying. And then 30, 40 years later, they're up in the hospital on the behavioral unit suffering from alcohol and drug addiction because they never stopped. They never got better. They never seek the help that they need. If you have a physical dependence on alcohol, you are going to need medical supervision to detox. You're going to have medication-assisted treatments. You're going to need therapy and support groups. It's really important that you get help if you do feel as if you have alcohol physical dependence. So we're going to talk a little deeper into what physical dependence does to your body. It affects your central nervous system. It depresses it. It slows down brain activity, and it enhances the effect of the neurotransmitter GABA, which calms the brain and suppresses good glutamate, which excites the brain. You are depressing your brain. And it is not in a positive way, it's in a very bad way. And at first, it feels relaxing and euphoric. It helps people unwind and sleep. But as it starts getting excessive, you start losing that sleep. You aren't able to unwind because the alcohol constantly in your system is going to always make you feel anxious or depressed. You're going to need more and more to relax. It's just a very vicious circle of not healing. You want to do the healing work and learn how to relax your nervous system in a healthy way and not through self-medicating through alcohol. Another thing that happens is the body, as we said earlier, creates a tolerance to alcohol. With repeated drinking, the brain tries to stay balanced and it starts producing all these hormones. But over time, the person needs more alcohol to get the same effects. And that's called tolerance. If you have a really high tolerance for alcohol, if you can drink many drinks in one sitting and not get intoxicated, that is a sign that you're drinking excessively. Dependence develops when the body has adapted to alcohol in its system. It's gotten used to the glutamate and it no longer counterbalances you. The low GABA levels can't calm the brain. And this leads to withdrawal symptoms, shaking or tremors, anxiety and irritability, nausea and sweating, increased heart rate and blood pressure. In severe cases, hallucinations and seizures. It's very serious when physical dependence happens as a result of excessive alcohol intake. And the cycle reinforces itself. People want to avoid the withdrawal symptoms. That hangover in the morning is sort of a mini withdrawal because all these symptoms that we're talking about, it's like a mini version of that. And what do many people do when they have a hangover? They drink to relieve the hangover. And it's just a vicious circle, and it reinforces itself because they want to avoid the withdrawal symptoms, because especially if you're physically dependent, because the withdrawal symptoms are so extreme, they drink so they don't experience them. And to function normally in daily life, they need to keep taking in the alcohol because they don't know how to live without it. Factors that influence physical dependence, it could be genetics. Like, who are these people that are getting physically dependent? Some people can drink alcohol and never be addicted to it, and others are. So it could be in your genetics, your family history of addiction. So that does play a role, and that's been proven that it runs in families. Alcoholism runs in families. But that's not an excuse to say I'm an alcoholic because my parents were alcoholics. That is awareness that you have that it runs in the family. So I have to work harder not to become addicted. I have to do the work not to become addicted. Just because it's genetic doesn't mean I have to fall in line with the generational addiction. Mental health conditions also influence physical dependence, anxiety, depression, trauma. People who don't do the actual emotional healing work of these things will turn to self-medicating. And for some people, it's alcohol. For some people, it's drugs. For some people, it's excessive working, workaholics. For some people, it's excessive exercising, staying really busy and never being able to sit quietly with themselves and be comfortable in their own skin. And so self-medicating comes in many forms, but if you're physically dependent on alcohol, you might have to really take a look at your trauma history, your depression and anxiety levels, and get the professional help you need. And it's not going to come from a bottle ever. Early or heavy alcohol use. They say the earlier you start drinking alcohol, the more chance you have of physical dependence. I read about Robert Downey Jr., who was drinking and smoking marijuana at the age of 7 or 8 because his family were in the business of Hollywood and had all these parties, and this little boy is just running free and trying everything. And then he's been struggling with drug and alcohol addiction his whole life. And luckily he's sober now, and hopefully he stays that way. But the earlier you start, the more chance you have of having physical dependence and having a lack of support systems or coping tools. So if you don't have someone to help you and guide you and give you the tools of self-esteem, confidence, forward thinking, future oriented, giving you a stable base, a secure attachment style, if those things were missing, though, you probably are going to turn to substance and turn to anything that's going to self-medicate you because you never received the tools that you needed in order to become healthy and thriving in the world. There are a lot of people who are addicted to alcohol who are functioning in the world, who have excessive use of alcohol in their lives and are functioning in the world, But that doesn't mean it's a good thing. It doesn't mean they're tolerating it. It doesn't mean that's helping them. They might have health issues. They might be overweight. They might be irritable and angry all the time. They might have a low tolerance for humanity. They are not living their best lives. Alcohol is a poison. It's not a good thing. And our culture has made it celebratory. It's made it glamorous. It's done all these things to make us believe that it's a good thing. And what is that? It's called marketing, brand marketing, and we've fallen into it. And the fact that all of our social activities tend to include alcohol also validate the belief that alcohol is okay. It's not that bad. Everybody does it. We'll do it in moderation and we'll be fine. But once you get past the moderation, you are getting yourself into trouble. You're risking addiction. You're risking organs being damaged. You're risking your brain losing its functioning at a higher level. You're risking so much, and you're also risking getting in a car accident, getting a DUI, hurting someone you love because you're drinking and driving, or saying things that are cruel and mean because you're drinking and your inhibitions are low, doing something you regret because you're drinking and your inhibitions are low. We want to realize that drinking has no positive effects on you. Drinking alcohol has zero positive effects in our lives. None. You might feel like it takes the edge off. Well, that's because you're ignoring your pain and you're medicating it. It doesn't take the edge off because you know what? Once the alcohol wears off, your pain and your edge is still there. And then you have to deal with it later. And you might have done something you regret while you were drinking. And so now you've just compounded whatever it is you were stressed about in the first place. Getting back to physical dependence. If you are physically dependent to alcohol, if you try to take a day or a week off and your body starts to have all these extreme physical responses, you will have to get medical attention to help you to start to get sober and recover from the alcohol use. You're not going to be able to do it on your own because you could die. You could have an extreme seizure. Something extreme could happen because your body has become so accustomed to having the alcohol running through it all the time. So if you're physically dependent on alcohol, get medical attention to help you detox. And also get the mental health support that you need because you want to find out why you've been drinking so much in the first place. Drinking, yes, is celebratory in our culture, but if you're drinking excessively, there's a reason for it. And don't you want to know what that reason is? And don't you want to heal it so you don't have to do that anymore? You'll be free of that. You'll be free of the trauma, free of the stress, free of the anxiety, free of the loneliness. Do the physical work of having a doctor help you through your detox, or a program, some kind of detox program to help you through the physical detox, and then get the mental health support you need. You deserve it. This is not your destiny. You can choose to recover. You can choose to move into a healthy place. You can choose to have your life back and have your body just loving life and loving nature and loving adventures and loving the people in your life and not needing alcohol for any of it. I hope that you are enjoying the podcast. Please support the podcast by sharing it with a friend, writing a review, or you can support Jackie by buying her coffee. Click on the link in the episode description below. You can also text Jackie if you want to ask a question or give some feedback about the episodes that you're listening to. I'm so glad you're joining us, and we will see you next time.